Top 10 Fascinating Facts about the Titanic. Did you know that the Titanic had its own newspaper and a swimming pool on board? Join us as we unveil 10 shocking curiosities about this legendary ocean liner, from luxurious first-class dinners to the tragic lack of lifeboats. Number 10. The Titanic had its own newspaper. The RMS Titanic was not only a marvel of naval engineering but also a floating micro-community with its own means of communication, the Atlantic Daily Bulletin. This newspaper was printed every night in the ship's small print shop, located in the engine room, a noisy and vibrant place that contrasted with the tranquility that the journal tried to convey. The edition included news, stock quotes, advertisements for the ship's services, and the next day's menu, which was especially appreciated by first-class passengers who liked to plan their meals. In addition to informing and entertaining, the newspaper served as a link to the outside world, although the news reached the ship via wireless telegraphy and was less detailed than newspapers on land. Each edition was tailored to ensure that passengers felt in a controlled and pleasant environment, avoiding news that could cause alarm. At that time, onboard newspapers were quite rare even on the most luxurious ships, making the Atlantic Daily Bulletin ahead of its time and a reflection of the luxury and attention to detail that the Titanic offered its passengers. This initiative not only demonstrates the importance of keeping passengers informed and pleased, but also the effort of the White Star Line to provide exceptional service that differentiated the Titanic from other ocean liners of the time. The newspaper became an essential part of the onboard experience, a daily reminder that, despite being in the middle of the ocean, the luxuries and comforts of modern life were still within reach. Number 9. The musicians of the Titanic. The orchestra of the Titanic remains one of the most romantic and tragic aspects of its history. It was composed of 8 musicians who played in different ensembles on board, from a trio in the first-class lounge to a quintet in the third-class dining room. These musicians were not considered regular crew members but were contracted by an external agency, the Black Talent Agency, which assigned them to different ships as needed. During the disaster, the musicians became legendary figures for their decision to keep playing as the ship sank, in an effort to keep passengers calm. It is said they played for more than 2 hours, and the last tunes they played included more cheerful songs and marches, though it is popularly believed that "Nearer, My God, to Thee" was the last song played, although this remains a topic of debate. Despite the bravery and calming role they played, all the musicians perished in the sinking. Their sacrifice not only showed an impressive level of dedication and professionalism but also underscored the profound tragedy of the event. The story of the Titanic's musicians has been immortalized in numerous accounts of the disaster and contributes to the aura of heroism and melodrama that still surrounds the memory of the Titanic today. Number 8. Maiden Voyage and its unfortunate end. The Titanic was presented to the public as a marvel of modern engineering, but despite its grandeur and advanced safety claims, it was never officially declared unsinkable by its builders. This mistaken belief was popularized through the press and was tragically reinforced after its sinking. The disaster occurred during its maiden voyage, which departed from Southampton, England, to New York, USA, on April 10, 1912. The journey was loaded with expectations and had captured the attention of the entire world due to the presence of some of the most prominent names in society at that time. The tragedy unfolded on the cold night of April 14th, when the Titanic collided with an iceberg in the North Atlantic. This impact caused the ship's watertight compartments to begin filling with water, an event that designers and builders had not anticipated to the extent that occurred. Despite the built-in safety measures, such as automatic watertight doors and advanced construction techniques, the damage was devastating and fatal. The sinking of the Titanic was not only a maritime catastrophe, it also marked a before and after in maritime legislation and safety, driving significant changes in international regulations. This tragic end highlighted human vulnerability against nature and forever changed the perception of safety in transatlantic travel. Number 7. The onboard swimming pool. The Titanic was not only a colossus of the seas by its size and luxurious decor, but also for its innovative facilities, including an indoor swimming pool. This pool was a relatively novel feature on ocean liners of the time and was available to first-class passengers. Filled with salt water, the pool offered a space for recreation and relaxation that complemented the luxurious travel experience. In addition to the pool, the Titanic was equipped with other wellness facilities such as a Turkish bath and a massage room, located in the ship's gym. These services were not only a testament to the luxury of the Titanic but also reflected the trends of the era regarding the importance of personal well-being and relaxation, which were becoming popular among the affluent classes. Access to these facilities was a clear indicator of the social stratification on board, where comforts and luxury were reserved for the fortunate. The existence of a swimming pool on the Titanic symbolizes the extravagance of transatlantic travel at the beginning of the 20th century and represents how even in the middle of the ocean, passengers could enjoy the amenities of a luxury hotel. Number 6. The Lost Binoculars. One of the most discussed episodes in the history of the Titanic is the disappearance of the key that gave access to the binoculars intended for the ship's lookouts. This essential tool could have allowed the lookouts to spot obstacles earlier, possibly averting the tragedy. According to accounts, the officer in charge of the binoculars was reassigned before the Titanic set sail, and the key remained in his possession without being handed over to his replacement. This omission resulted in the lookouts having to rely solely on their sight to monitor the horizon on the icy Atlantic night. On the night of the sinking, the sea was unusually calm and the sky moonless, conditions that hampered visibility of the iceberg until it was too late to maneuver and avoid the collision. This fact underscores not only the series of unfortunate circumstances that surrounded the Titanic but also how small human errors or oversights can lead to catastrophic consequences. The loss of the key to the binoculars is a reminder of the importance of details in managing safety and preventing accidents. Number 5. Communication and ignored warnings. The Titanic was equipped with the most modern wireless telegraphy technology of its time, operated by two young radio operators, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride. Their equipment had the capacity to send and receive messages at considerable distances, a significant advancement in maritime communication. However, on April 14, 1912, the day of the disaster, the Titanic received multiple warnings from other ships about dangerously close ice fields on its route. These warnings, however, were not treated with the urgency they required. A combination of the overload of personal messages sent by passengers and the lack of clear protocols to prioritize critical safety communications contributed to these warnings not arriving in time or being ignored by the captain and his officers. This poor communication proved to be fatal. Additionally, it is known that in the hours before the crash, Phillips reprimanded another ship, the SS Californian, for interrupting him with a message about ice, telling them, "Shut up, I am working," which reflects the tension and stress under which the operators worked. This tragic error in communication reveals how reliance on emerging technology, without proper practices for its management, can lead to disastrous results. Number 4. The class difference. The Titanic, like many ocean liners of its era, was highly stratified in terms of social classes, reflecting the norms and inequalities of early 20th century society. First-class passengers enjoyed unprecedented luxury, with access to multiple dining rooms, ornate lounges, spacious cabins with fine furniture, and exclusive entertainment. This opulence starkly contrasted with the conditions of third class, where passengers were accommodated in much more modest and shared rooms, with limited access to recreational facilities. During the disaster of the sinking, these differences became even more evident. First-class passengers had much quicker and easier access to lifeboats, and a much higher percentage of them survived compared to those of third class. In fact, some accounts suggest that movements between decks were prevented, with closed doors limiting third-class passengers' access to lifeboats. This segregation not only highlights the social disparities of the time, but also influenced the survival rates of different groups on board. The differentiated treatment based on social class was one of the many tragedies of the sinking of the Titanic, underscoring the cruel reality of inequality even in life or death situations. Number 3. The Last Dinner. The night before the Titanic met its fatal destiny, first-class passengers enjoyed an opulent dinner that reflected the pinnacle of luxury and sophistication. This 10-course menu included delicacies such as oysters, consommé Olga, clear broth adorned with caviar and seafood shells, poached salmon, and roasted duck, among others. The choice of dishes and the quality of the food served at this last dinner were typical of the culinary extravagance Onboard, designed to impress the wealthy and sophisticated diners. In addition to the quality of the food, the presentation and service were meticulously cared for. Diners were served in a dining room that was a work of art in its own right, with carved wooden panels, opulent chandeliers, and fine china. This dinner was not merely a meal. It was a social event of the highest importance, underlining the status and exclusivity of those who could afford it. Although this last dinner has been romanticized in accounts and movies, it serves as a grim reminder of the unshakable confidence in technology and progress that characterized the era, and how, in a matter of hours, this perception would be tragically disproven by the events that would unfold that fateful night. Number 2. The capacity of the lifeboats. One of the most critical and tragic aspects of the design of the Titanic was its insufficient number of lifeboats. Despite having the capacity to carry more than 3,500 people, the ship was only equipped with lifeboats for approximately 1178. This deficiency was the result of outdated maritime regulations that had not kept pace with the increase in size and capacity of new ocean liners like the Titanic. At the time, the legislation required a number of boats based on the tonnage of the ship, not on the number of passengers and crew on board. Additionally, it was thought that an excessive number of boats would spoil the aesthetics of the ship and could unnecessarily worry passengers about the safety of the vessel. Interestingly, the Titanic had space and cranes for more boats, but it was decided not to maximize this capacity for the reasons mentioned above. The lack of lifeboats became one of the most critical points on the night of the sinking, as many boats were launched into the water not fully filled due to panic, disorganization, and lack of training and practices by the crew. This serious error in design and ship management proved to be fatal for many who might have survived had better safety measures been taken. Number 1. The discovery of the remains of the Titanic. The discovery of the remains of the Titanic in 1985 by a team led by Robert Ballard and jointly funded by the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution and the United States Navy marked a milestone in underwater exploration. The remains were located at a depth of approximately 3,800 meters in the North Atlantic, using advanced sonar technology and a remotely operated vehicle called Argo. This finding not only confirmed the exact location of the sinking, but also revealed how the Titanic had broken in two before completely sinking, something that until then was a matter of debate among historians and experts. The exploration of the remains offered a new level of detail about the last night of the Titanic, providing physical evidence of the magnitude of the disaster. Images and videos captured during the dives showed personal items scattered on the ocean floor, from shoes to jewelry, each telling a silent story of the lives lost in the tragedy. Additionally, large sections of the ship could be observed, including parts of the deck and the huge propeller, which gave researchers and the public a clearer perspective of the size and complexity of the Titanic. This discovery not only provided valuable lessons about maritime history and shipbuilding, but also revitalized public and academic interest in the Titanic. Subsequent expeditions to the wreck site have continued to provide more information and have helped to preserve the memory of the disaster, ensuring that the lessons learned from the Titanic continue to inform safety and ship design practices.